Hi handsome and welcome to my 56th video. It's the follow-up to my previous video about Heidel Ball, since it has now ended and we can talk about it. Before we begin, there is one very important thing that needs to be mentioned. If you have been around BDO for a while, you probably know that not all of the new content and updates mentioned on these ball events make it to the game, so take all the announced things with a grain of salt. In the same token, however, just because something was not talked about on the ball doesn't mean that it is not coming to the game, and it absolutely doesn't mean that only the content announced here is the content that we should be expecting in the next 3 months. And yes, you heard it right. 3 months. This was a big surprise and honestly a great thing to see, because every update announced that had already a release date was slated for September at the latest, including the expansion itself, which for the first time ever comes out at the same time in Korea as the rest of the world. But not for consoles. Let's talk about the expansion first. It is quite obvious to me that this expansion had one giant mission that it is trying to fulfill. Make progression feel meaningful. This has historically been one of, if not the biggest complaints against BDO from both inside and outside its own community. Now, contrary to popular belief, motivation to progress in BDO is not just about PvP, and it has never been that. Motivation in just about any MMO, BDO included, is about unlocking new content. That can be PvP, PvE, life skills, or literally anything else that you need to unlock. Well, here is a piece of content specifically designed as the final carrot on the stick for majority of players, that is meant to make you want to progress to see it. Again, this is not something for just the top 5% of players of whatever that some people will have you believe. It is here for everyone, because unlike in other MMOs where raids go away and become forgotten with the new expansion or sometimes even the new raid tier, you will still be grinding Edania in years to come, or you will want to grind it in years to come, and while it will undoubtedly become easier to do more as the time passes, I think it will be a good milestone for a lot of people for a while, and being able to beat the final boss of the zone, which requires 840 gear score, will be an accomplishment for most. This also goes for the new gear that they have announced, which is both Sovereign Sub-Weapons and the new armor set, which looks pretty dope, both of which will require a lot of work to get. Now, the armor is time-gated quite heavily. You can only get one enhancing item per week, which I'm generally not a big fan of, but I think that most people will be able to clear at least the first boss of Edania before they have that Fallen God armor, so it falls in a similar spot as Karazat, where you can stockpile these items long before you do actually need them, in which case it only works as real time gating for the top 5% of players and allows everyone else to catch up with them over time, and I'm 100% fine with that, because we have made a mistake of people getting no sovereign weapons on day 1 of an expansion already, and the entire shit show that has caused, so I am happy that Pearl Abyss is never doing the same mistake again. The armor set also doubles as a new unlockable outfit. If you have all 4 pieces, you will get the outfit as a copy that you can put on someone else, something we didn't really have since La Orzeka in Odilita, so that's a cool addition as well. The PvP aspects was the same, but here I would say that the "it's only for the top 1% of the community" is absolutely true. I will say that they have largely answered a lot of the questions I had about the castle mechanic, and it is definitely a lot better than I thought that it would be, but the one issue I have with this content is that unlike the PvE aspect of the zone, there is very little future-proofing in the castle owner mechanic. If the owner is decided by a fight between the top 10 most geared players in the game who have also killed the boss, this will only get worse over time, and the Idana who wins that fight is basically guaranteed to always be nominated, since they will now have more gear score than everyone else, because they will have more money from all the taxes from the Marine realm, and this will only get worse the more time passes, when the gear score will have increased past what we currently have, and people also stop grinding at these places as much, weakening the reason to want to be an owner of that castle over time, and will most likely probably be only for griefers. I still think that it is just streamer-bait content for the time being, but at the very least, they gave us the bosses to fight too in another quasi-boss blitz. And the tax mechanic seems to be based on the risk versus reward dilemma of grinding inside the Mother Realm that you have to purchase from the Idana, or in the open world where you can get killed without any repercussions. So I think it's okay overall, but there are definitely some worries that I have. And that's all I have to say about the new expansion. Again, they didn't really mention life skills here at all, but since there is at least one new alchemy recipe, I think that it's fair to say that there will be some stuff to gather, if not hunt. Ulukita was very similar in its approach at the ball, where they didn't really say anything about the gathering and hunting in there, yet it does exist. So I'm sure it will exist here, even if it's just copy-pasted mobs from Valencia or whatnot, and I do hope that it will actually be worthwhile going here. Since I already mentioned it, let's go through all the life skill changes they announced, however little there is. We have the aforementioned alchemy recipes for damage to Edania monsters, which is the new monster type in, of course, the Edania, similar to demi-human damage and whatnot. We have new dawn crystals for life skills that I assume will go into your Prion accessories. We have new general crystals for life skills that combine the mastery crystals and the life EXP crystals into one. We have silver embroidered clothes getting removed from the game and their EXP buff being transferred into Manos clothes of the corresponding type. And we have a seed pouch, which is basically the fish tank for seeds. They say they want to make the stackable seeds soon, but we will have to see if that ever comes. The tier 11 horse that combines all the other 3 tier 10s into one is also coming. Some quality of life updates and minor buffs to processing. Oh, and we are finally getting an Alchemy Stone update, which means we finally get Aggregate Essence on Alchemy Stones. They are removing the non-yellow grades of the Alchemy Stones, which were completely useless for the most part, and they are also making Alchemy Stones clonable, which I'm sure people will not like as much, but I think it's a good idea because it absolutely sucked enhancing them. Love the change, was about time honestly, since the old system was absolutely horrendous, and I don't think that anyone who actually did Alchemy Stone enhancing is against this change. There is one change that can be potentially dangerous to life skills, specifically gathering and hunting, and that is mouse movement getting removed. This is supposed to be a PvP change, which I am sure everyone is happy about, because it caused an insane amount of desync and was just another balancing nightmare for the devs. In gathering and hunting though, you use mouse movement to gather from much longer distances, so if this is completely removed, gathering especially might be a bit cooked. Let's continue with the PvP updates. We got class ratios being removed, or at the very least changed into group ratios. I'm assuming the thing in Korean meant magic, melee, ranged. Don't really know, we'll have to see. This is a change people have been asking for a while now, so it's good to finally see it. Resistances are likewise removed from PvP, which is absolutely a progress move. I don't think there's a single person angry about that. They are also clumping evasion and DR together in the new armor sets and in the new sub-weapons and giving us more accuracy. We will have to see how this pans out. I'm not really a numbers person, I don't really care that much about this side of video, so if you are really interested in that, go ask someone else. They are also changing how summons work. I don't really know how this was ever a thing to begin with, but I guess it's nice to finally have it. And I think that the big change is that Blue Battlefield is finally coming to the game, 4 years after being announced and I think 3 years after being cancelled. The big mistake with this content, in my opinion, is that it is basically a naval node war and for some reason takes place at the same time as the regular node wars. I know they said this is something for a different audience than the people who do regular node wars, but I'm sure there are people who like both node wars and both content, so making them choose in favor of a player base that may or may not even exist is a big mistake in my eyes. There also is a tournament for best in class, but this is once again for the top 5% if that of players. You do get a griffin if you end up winning, but only for a year? I mean, just make it permanent, come on guys. I suppose I should also talk about the new class, Wukong. It looks cool, it's not really my cup of tea and I will forever remain loyal to my succession tamer, but I am sure a lot of people do end up liking him, so always nice to have that. It's the same approach as League of Legends, the more characters you put out, the more people you appeal to. We also got another teaser of a class for Savior, a tentative name, who looks cool, but we know nothing about her other than her weapon, so not really much to say other than big sword, go bonk. Next, we have the UI updates. I honestly don't have much to say for any of these other than that it's a good thing that we have them. These are your map showing knowledge, the pop-up clutter you get at the start getting disabled by default, which took them 10 years honestly, the buff UI with all your buffs consolidated and you being able to see exactly how much of a given buff you have, a dedicated event menu, world map UI changes and being able to see your alts on it, as well as being able to teleport them to different nodes, a new enhancing UI which is gonna be cool, a new inventory for your fail stacks and other enhancing items as well, which again is going to be very nice. And you will also be able to use energy of your alts when you're recruiting workers or using other things that require energy, which again, it's a nice change, but not really much else to say here. Also, we got our handout. This time it is Garmov's Heart, and that is because you can now put it into your Succession Sovereign Weapon, which will give you plus 3 AP if it's, I believe, 10 or higher. And it will also give you 50 accuracy later once those DR and EVA changes come to the game as well. They are also going to be changing how monster AP works with your total AP, basically giving you more of it per sheet AP. They are putting DP requirements for dungeons and boss blades, and they are changing how overcapping AP works, especially with your monster damage or species damage, which we will have yet to see how that works out. They also promised that we will finally get the all-in-one preset, which they announced like 2 years ago, and you now only need to do the Igor Bartalis log to get all the stat upgrades from the adventure logs, which is absolutely massive to all new players and people who cannot be bothered doing those other logs, like me. Last couple of things I didn't really know where to put, so in no particular order, here we go. We are getting a kind of tutorial area in Olvia. They also said they are planning a new beginning area. We'll have to see how that goes, if ever we get it. We are also getting more ways to give money to Pearl Abyss, which means more summer outfits for her DK. I have to say, I'm impressed they managed to make her even less clothed than with the Badaka outfit. And I also think that it was absolute cinema that they said, guys, look, male classes can now not wear shirts. And next to the Dosa, or whatever the class was, there's basically a naked Dark Knight with nothing on her. Cinema. Cinema. Nothing else. We are also getting your own customizable maid who you can now give outfits to. So if you want to give her the summer outfit, now you can. And they also said that they are trying to put AI chatbots into the maid so you can talk to her. I mean, the male loneliness epidemic is really going hard. There are people who have made their chatbots. Guys, I think we might be getting sex update in the next expansion. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. We are also getting what is essentially a permanent treasure event. You now get another resource similar to Agres Fever that you can turn on and off, and if you have it on, you have a chance to get treasure items from your zone of choice that you picked before. So if you really don't want to grind paddocks, for example, you can put this resource on, go to DSR and still have a chance, albeit a lower one, to get the ring piece from paddocks. I didn't like this at first because it kind of deprives people of the shared experience of getting the items, but then I realized that some people get Olon's piece in their first hour and some people have to slave 500 hours in Upper Sikraya and the only thing that drops from them is the sanity meter. It also future-proofs all treasure item spots, since some are outdated already now, some even more like the Upper Sikraya, but even places like Tungarat Ruins will be considered bad money eventually, and therefore having a system that allows you to get treasure items in the future without just making another zone that drops it and thus only kicking the can down the road is a good idea. And that's all the stuff announced that is in my opinion worth talking about in this year's Heidel Ball. Overall, I would say it's like a 7 to an 8 out of 10. I think it was one of the better balls we have had in the last years, and the fact that it is all supposed to come out within just the next 3 months makes me very excited for the future of BDO as a whole, since this means that the dev update we usually get around October will also have some new stuff for us to see. That's all I have for you today, handsome. I hope you enjoyed this rundown and my thoughts. Tell me what you thought about the Heidel Ball and what you liked and disliked about it. Remember to like and subscribe, and enjoy your grind.